Hi, welcome to She Said We Said podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Candy.
So today we are going to do a very serious topic. We are going to do a domestic violence topic. This is going to be different because I have very rarely shared this story.
Okay.
I've shared it a couple of years ago with finally with my best friends.
Okay. Oh, she needs tissue. You want me to go get it?
No,
Okay.
I can't mix
Okay.
my makeup up.
Well, let me get a little. Okay.
So I so I went through a hard time,
Okay.
and sometimes I think and I am not crying because I am hurt by this still. I'm crying because it's going to be the first time I'm actually sharing it. So it's kind of like sometimes when people see you, they think you got it all together, and they're like, "You got it all together." No, I'm really don't have it all together.
Well, I
I've
want
been
to
through
take
some
a
shit.
minute just to thank you for your bravery. We're gonna get into it, but I mean, what you are about to do takes courage.
Ooh.
Those are tears of courage, honey.
Ooh, yes.
Tears of courage.
We told y'all we was gonna come real, right? We
Yes.
told y'all we was gonna thank you that we was gonna share stuff that I just think it's time to use this platform to help. So like that was one of the purposes of doing this is to use this platform to kind of like to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that me finally sharing probably would, hey, I hope that the next woman or man can say, okay, well, let me share. Either you want to share with us, share with someone you love. I mean, it took me a long time to share because it's embarrassing. Like,
of course. Shameful.
Especially like when you're someone who've been married and you didn't go through it with your marriage. So I didn't go through this with my marriage. Um, After I divorced, I think I was really broken, and like like that saying, like when it rains it pours. Like so, I lost my job. Just everything just started tumbling, and
So this was so I'm gonna be asking her questions just to make sure we have clarity.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be wanting clarity too. So this is not a relationship during your marriage. This is a relationship after
my
your
marriage.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So and before you start, I personally would like to know because I feel like there's a misconception of how could anybody even get into that type of relationship, right? Abusive relationship, right? We see women all the time, and even me personally, I would be like, I'll never be in a physically abusive relationship, right? Like that cannot happen to me. So when you do start, I personally do want to know how did it even start? Like the signs, maybe the first time if you can, and just how would someone fall into that type of relationship?
Okay, so this has started back in. I started this relationship. I met this guy, 2010. Um, 2010. Met this guy. Was dating him. It started off cool. Like we were cool. We we talked about business. He wanted to start a business project. We even he was funding everything. Like he helped me get like we went to did a business plan. We started a whole business together. So it was like I meet the family. I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is it's a cool little relationship. Um, it started.
Had you healed from your marriage?
Yes.
You still okay?
Because
So
no emotional.
Okay.
So the marriage was
clear slate.
Clear slate. But I was going through so much that sometimes when you meet people, sometimes you can hide the signs are there, but you ignore them because you're like, but he's good at this. Like we getting this business together. He doing everything, and we just started hanging out, and we would go to his nephew games. And I met one of his daughters, and she was probably like about 9 at the time. So we were just like vibing. I've always been protective of my daughter, so I wasn't bringing my own child into this. So which, thank God I didn't. But I was at a low point and didn't realize it. So then what started it would be like the verbal.
Okay.
Like or the little disrespect. And I say little disrespect because then sometimes you'd be like, okay,
Can you give me like an example if you remember?
Like it was one time we were sitting at his house, and he was like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, he's talking to me? What?
Right.
And he's like, shut the fuck up. And then I was like, oh, and usually my mouth usually wouldn't shut the fuck up, but I was like, okay, well, okay. And I was just sitting there like on my phone, and then later he was like, I'm sorry. Okay. You know, I was rude. And then I'm like, oh, okay, he's sorry. He didn't mean that. You know, it was just shut the fuck up. It wasn't nothing. It was just shut the fuck up, right? So then,
and that's making me boil right now.
yeah,
a little
like
bit
shut the fuck up.
it's
So
just
then
so rude.
we would just like, you know, watch stuff together. And then I remember, fast forward to Whitney Houston had died. So when we were sitting there, I had came to his house. I'm like, oh my God, Whitney Houston died. And I'm like crying. And he was like, what the fuck you crying for? Why are we always saying fuck? You know? And he would just like switch, you know, like switch. Like, I'm like, it's Whitney Houston. He's like, you don't know her. I'm like, okay. Then, you know, you're like, oh, I don't know her. So then it progressed to like, I started noticing like drinking. And I'm like, you drunk? Cause like he would like tell me like, hey, can you pick up some wine? So we went from like the small regular bottle of wine to like the gallon bottle of wine. And I'm like, so I would like leave for work. Like I would stay at his house, leave for work, come back and be like, you drank all that wine? Yeah, I did. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then we got like little phone calls, like, you know, like, it was like some phone calls, and I'm like, who, you know, what's going on with the phone? And then he would just go off again, and I'm just like, okay, he's been drinking.
So that's you questioning him about a phone call
About
he's
phone
receiving.
calls. Yeah, he's receiving.
And he is just going off.
Just going off.
Okay.
So then,
nothing physical though.
Nothing
at this
physical.
Point.
Still, we're still not
just
physical.
Kind of talking crazy to you.
Yeah,
mind
still
your business,
just
whatever. Okay.
Talking crazy, and then like maybe a couple of weeks later, his sister was over, and we were like talking. What he wanted was, he had been drinking, and he wanted me to go pick his daughter up. And I said, well, I can't go pick her up because I don't feel comfortable. I don't know her mom. Like I had been to the house like with him and sat in the car, but I had never made contact. He wanted me to actually go to the house to pick up his daughter. Okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't know her like that. That's her. You know, I would never want someone to do that to me unless I'm formally introduced. Right. And he was like, so he was in the kitchen and he texted me. He was like, get the fuck out. Oh. And I'm like, and then he was like, I mean, get the fuck out my house. So then I left. And then I sat in my car and cried. Like I left.
I was just about to ask you, how was you feeling?
I felt so hurt because then I got to get up and leave, like out the blue. Like, okay, I got to go. Because now he's texting me and he's like being aggressive in the text messages. And then I'm like,
because even though nobody know about it, just sending you that text message, when you read it, you know how you get a text message.
Because in your whole body language
unexpected,
is like,
right?
Whoa, like, and then I'm texting back, and he's like, get the fuck out. And then it was the bitch, get the fuck out my house. Oh, okay. So now I'm a bitch. But then now I'm like, okay, do I act crazy? How do I respond? If I go back and forth. So I'm just like, okay, I'll leave. Halfway home, dude lives in Oakland. I lived in San Pablo. Like, text. Come back. And I went back.
So let's do the pause. Okay, because this would probably be where somebody would come in and, you know, sometimes people try to shame the victim, right, in a sense. So this would be probably one of those situations where after he done cussed you out, he done told you to get the F out, get the F out, you get up and leave, and then he texts you and tell you to come back. Why would you go back? Because that's the next question is why would you even consider going back? You're hurt. You're in the car crying. He cussed you out, kicked you out.
Because I think I was more ashamed to go home, and then everyone's like, "Well, what are you doing back? I thought you weren't coming home." And then you look like you're crying, and then so you need the explanation of you have to now. I got to go explain, but okay, he made a mistake. He wants me back, and then we go a couple of more weeks, and we're fine.
Okay, let's stop before you skip to the couple of weeks, because we're gonna get there. When you went back, how was the rest of the night? Was he apologetic? Was it sex that night?
Yeah,
Was
it was good. I mean, it was
was he the perfect
apologetic.
gentleman? Like, what
He was
happened when you went back?
apologetic. There was good sex. There was just like nothing happened.
Did he say why he said that to you? Did he explain like I was upset? I've been drinking.
He said,
what was
no,
his excuse
he just said
for
that
saying
you
that
made
to
me
you?
mad because
You made him mad. Okay.
I told you to do something to go get my baby and you said no.
Okay.
And then I explained it again why, and he was like, okay, I understand.
Okay.
So then I think we ended up going to get the daughter like the next day. Okay. And then she stayed for a couple of days, and then we were fine.
And then you said a couple of weeks out.
And then a couple of weeks out, I came to his house, and he's like, playing music, and he was like, I want to, let's drink. But then I'm like looking around the house, and I'm like, why is there 2 champagne glasses here that's already been used? Like, so I was like, you had company? Like, and he was like, what the fuck you talking about? I was like, well, champagne glasses, and
right here,
they've been drunk out of, like, who drinking in theirs, And he was like, you get on my fucking nerves. I'm trying to do something good, and you up there, and I'm like, wow, okay. I was just asking about the glass. So then, we started drinking. I'm in my head thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm not dumb, but then I don't want to question. I don't want to mess this up.
Him, probably.
So we're cooking dinner together. We're having dinner, and we start drinking.
I need to be taking notes because there's a couple questions I'm gonna have to ask you. Go ahead.
So we get tipsy. I get tipsy. Okay, and I was like, I remember going into the bathroom, and I remember coming back and like laying down. And when I woke up, he was gone. And so was my car.
You were at his house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then, I was a big stickler about. I'm still a stickler like that about. You don't get to drive my car. Like, it's mine. Like, I pay these bills. It's my car. And I'm like calling him. And
did he have a car?
Yeah, he had a car.
Okay.
But he had my car. I mean, I had a new car. So, but I'm calling him and texting. I'm like, where's my car? He won't text back. He won't answer my call. So I'm blowing the phone up. Want my car. He finally come back. Like, it was no problem. But he's drunk. So you went drunk driving in my car. So then we got this this is the first time where I really feel like I was really defending myself, because I was like, anything could have happened, and you're in my car, and then that takes away from me. So like, we argued, and he was like, you know what? He was like, you was drunk on the floor, and I tried to wake you up to ask you to take. Like, how you gonna ask a drunk person, another drunk person gonna ask another drunk person to take? So I'm like,
why did he leave you drunk on the floor?
Yeah,
you had me at. Yeah, you was drunk on the floor, so you just looking at your chick drunk on the floor. Like,
yeah. I'm gonna take her car.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
She ain't gonna trip. She ain't gonna even know. He probably thought you wasn't gonna wake up in time.
So,
okay, that's what we doing.
Then the phone started ringing again in the middle of the night.
That phone.
So then, I went, looked at the phone, promised myself I would never be that girl again. So I'm looking at the phone. He done went and met somebody in my car. Because I hadn't read the text messages. I'm like, wow.
Audacity. So let me pause you. So from this time to the time y'all met, give me a timeline or time frame. Are you
from
guys
when all this started?
From when you met him up until this point, how long had y'all been vibing? Couple months?
About 8 months.
Oh, so this is like 8 months into the relationship. Okay.
I mean, everything was gravy in the beginning. I mean, we done started the business. There was, like, to go back, there was a sign. We went to I took him on this cruise around the bay for his birthday.
Okay.
And that was like 2 months in. And I remember to myself thinking that was a sign, because when we were there, like, I didn't see the sign then really. I seen it down the line 6 months later. I'm like, oh, that was a sign. Or when you're in it and you're trying to process everything. We were at this cruise, on this boat cruise, and we're like hanging out. He started drinking. He talked to everybody, all the women. Like, I'm out there with him. But people are seeing us take these pictures together. We're together, and then women are looking at me like,
It's kind of rude and disrespectful.
yeah,
And I'm asking you this for a reason because you just hit it. You said something similar to that a lot of times we don't see the signs because we're so in it. It's new. We probably really like this person and little things here and there. So I'm saying it particularly just for the sake of start paying attention to them signs because they usually do happen early on in the relationship. We just kind of
ignore
blow
them.
it off. But normally, right off the bat, you're going to start seeing those signs because they can only be somebody else for so long, right? They can only hold up that facade for so long before it starts coming down. So, okay, go ahead.
So we are like, we're going back and forth with this, thing. And then probably let's fast forward to like almost a year in.
Almost a year in. So we got past the car.
Got past the car.
Had an accident, but no physical, no nothing. It's just an argument, typical. Y'all move on.
Typical arguments.
We move on. Okay.
9 months, almost close to a year in, we have this big blowout at the house again. And we like watching TV and he's like, we're arguing about, I don't even know what we were arguing about. I think it was just more like it escalated because there was alcohol again. Okay. We're not realizing that alcohol has been the trigger, not for me, but for him.
Definitely for him. When he's drinking, it's a problem.
So I'm like, we are drinking more bottles of wine at night. Like we're going from 1 gallon a day to like 2 gallons a day. And I'm thinking to myself, like, who the fuck drinks this much wine, Yeah. So, and he would tell me like, this is better than the hard stuff. Okay, this is better than the hard stuff because you acting crazy on the wine. So then we sat there, we were talking, arguing, and he just punched me. And I was like,
I wasn't ready for that. So wait.
That's how fast it happened. Like it was never no escalation of.
No, so we're gonna paint this visual, right? Okay. We're creatives and we can do that. So you are sitting where now? I'm going to be.
So we're sitting like about this close to each other,
so
but we're arguing.
Each other, we're arguing, yada yada.
So you,
I'm you him,
yeah, and you just keep arguing, and you're doing your little hand.
Did you put your finger?
Oh. Now shut the fuck up. So, whoa, like life can change then, because it's like.
So y'all this close and he just hauls off and
yeah.
Okay.
So then you're like stunned because you don't know, I think it's like an out of body experience because then you're like, did this person just hit me or no, this person didn't just hit me, right? Like because, well, no, this person didn't just hit me like in my nose and my nose hurt though. But then you're like, I'm in the I remember going in the bathroom screaming like. Because I'm like blood in my nose. I'm like, did you break my nose? And he's like pacing and he's pacing. He's like, shut the fuck up, and he was like, then he came back to the door and he's like, I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm like, no, so I like get my stuff and I leave, but then I have nowhere to go because now that's putting me in a bad predicament because if I go home. Well, yeah, now I got to answer questions, right? Because then I got a bloody nose. I'm red, like I'm looking like Rudolph.
Okay.
So I did something I've never done in my life. I went and parked at the marina in Oakland because he lived in Oakland, and I stayed the night in my car because I was so embarrassed. Like I didn't know.
You gonna make me go find him, girl. Where you meet him at?
I didn't know what to do. Like
you gonna make me upset. Had he ever before that first time that he punched you? Had he ever like flinched at you, or have you ever seen like maybe you thought he was gonna hit you or anything like that? No, that was just completely out the blue.
No,
girl,
just like I'm serious. Like when you literally, it was like going back and forth, and of course, we do on all this, but never like a or a me,
Nothing.
or not even me coming towards him.
No choking, no grabbing
No.
you, no nothing. So this was definitely completely out the blue.
Yeah, this was just out the blue. This was
And
just
where did
like
you meet him at? Did we discuss that?
I met him in Oakland,
Just out and about.
just out in downtown Oakland.
Were you? I want to know. Was you at an event? Were you?
No, I was just at a restaurant, and I ended up seeing him as I'm coming out the restaurant. You know how you had guys like,
Okay.
hey, how you doing? How you doing? And we
just got numbers.
Yeah.
And kept moving. Okay.
So
he wasn't introduced to you by nobody.
No, nobody
wasn't
introduced.
Nothing, so
nobody
you just
introduced him. I met him on my own,
organically. Okay.
And then when you meet people like that, and you're going through stuff. You're like, oh, you're supposed to be. I met him on my own. He's a cool dude. Everything is good. This guy was 6'4", so it's like I'm just so
ready to climb that tree.
I'm like, ooh, my tall guy. So yeah, whatever. But
and you 6? He's 6'3". How tall are you?
He's 6'4". I'm only 5'1".
So he's 6'4", and you are 5'1", and this man, alleged man, had the nerves to put his hands on you at 6'4".
And just think his arms is so long. My arms is not long. Like I can't even punch somebody from where I'm sitting.
Probably would have hit his thigh or something like that. That's crazy.
And then so I slept in the car, and then
not that having a short man hitting you from up makes any difference. So I just want to be clear that I'm not just picking on tall men. Let's go for we can't call them midgets. What's the right term? Little people. Shorter stature.
Well, short men have
short man syndrome.
Have a short man syndrome.
I just wanted to be, because that's a big difference. 6'4" and 5'1"
short men, I guess,
is a big difference, but it don't, whether you short or tall, it's just never okay.
And he wasn't like a skinny guy, so it's like he's not a nice sized guy. So just that
mentality.
Yeah, like. I can say I don't even remember what was said. That I know that argument was not not even disrespectful. It was just more like an arguing back and forth. But it wasn't and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying any argument you should get hit for, but I'm saying it was just more like, I ain't touched you, I ain't did nothing.
It wasn't even all that serious.
No.
Like y'all did. Okay.
So then I stayed away for a couple of days. I did stay away.
Now, was he typically, sometimes the man is like blowing you up, calling your phone, obsessively? Usually I've seen like that sometimes happen. Now,
when he was
that
time, he did, because then he
didn't probably know if he was going to the cops.
Yeah. So then he was more like, I want to, I didn't mean that, and I was like, well, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he was like. And this is what, when you go back down the line, when you go through something, you're like, what was I thinking when he said, I didn't mean to do that, because if I would have wanted to hurt you, I could have really hurt you, because if I would have hit you hard enough. So when you have a discussion like that with somebody, what am you thinking? I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I was very broken. That's what I was, because. Why would that does that make it better? Like I could have broke your nose.
So I wonder, and we're not gonna go too deep into this. We're gonna stick to this story, absolutely. But I'm wondering if, for me on the outside looking in, right? Because these are how these questions come about. You said you had never been in an abusive relationship before prior to this one, right? Mm-hmm. So this was like your first one out the blue. So of course the question would be like, what would make, whether you've been in a abusive relationship before or not, what would make you reconsider him saying to you, I didn't really mean it, and you are then like, maybe he didn't. Like, because here's the thing, right? As women, we've seen the burning bed. We've seen domestic movies. We probably heard about domestic stuff, right? Up until before you met him, you know what domestic abuse looked like. It's not like you had never heard of it before. So what is it from all that you knew about domestic violence up until this point? And you've seen women probably say the same thing, like, I didn't know, or, he was just this in the beginning and all this other stuff. But then here you are, find yourself in this exact position. If you can recall, what do you think you were thinking as far as agreeing with him or starting to cover up, because I think that's another sign of abuse, right? A lot of times they
I
start
think
to
it's just
justify their actions.
sometimes it's what you see in your family. Sometimes you see
Okay.
Men and women get into it and they fight and then they forgive and they're
Okay.
back together. Or even I remember, like, even with let's use, like, what's love got to do with it? Like, Tina Turner was with this man, beating her on stage beating her before concerts, and she still loved him and had kids with him. So you see it. It's not like,
But she was also abandoned. Her
yes,
mother, she didn't have her father.
but sometimes when you're just seeing people, like, people go through stuff and you're like, oh, okay, is that a part of
That's normal.
is that a part of relationships?
Okay.
Is that a part, same thing. I mean, with verbal abuse, no, I wasn't. This was my physical abuse relationship, but verbally, I've been abused by men. So it's just like, okay, well, maybe he didn't mean it, or maybe he's having a rough time. Maybe in your head when you're in that situation, you're trying to figure out
Make sense of
how
it.
to, yeah, because you don't want to be like, I'm gonna abuse. I didn't at that point, and I can still say that's not when I figured out that I was being abused.
Okay.
I thought, okay, I was kind of, I took a part in maybe my mouth, because I know my mouth can be reckless.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I said something to him and it was a trigger for
Okay.
him. So you're trying to basically make up for your abuser, like, in any,
Rationalize,
yeah.
figure it out. Like, okay.
So we got a couple more months and we're fine. We are.
Now, is he back to being the perfect gentleman
Mhm,
again? And
we're
nice?
back. We're having a perfect time. And then it was a night. It was an evening, afternoon, or whatever. And his son came, and he was like,
His who came?
his son,
Okay.
and he was like, his son at the time was like 16,
Okay.
and he was like, upset with his mom, and he was like, I want to move, And so we're in the living room, and I'm like, he said, I want to go. My son wants to move, so I want to go get his stuff. And I was like, okay. I said, well, don't you think you should, like, talk to her about it? He was like, no. So son was like, can you guys take me to get my stuff? And I said, okay. So I was like, can we leave now before it gets dark? Because we have to go to Fremont. And I'm like, I want to go before it gets dark, because if I don't like driving. I'm one of those people. I never really like driving. If I'm driving and I don't know where I'm going,
Okay.
and so I'm like, can we just go before it get dark so I can see the road, know where I'm going? And it got dark. I'm like, so we get there. We're sitting in front of the house in the driveway. His son's mom is home, and I said his son gets out to go get his stuff, and I'm like, why don't you go talk to her? I said, because you are taking your son and moving him out
Mm-hmm.
at 16. Just talk to the mom and see what happened, and let her know at least, okay, I'm just going to take him,
Mm-hmm.
He was like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. Okay. He kept drinking something, but I really didn't know exactly what he was drinking because we didn't leave the house. Well, I thought we didn't leave the house with liquor. So he had like something, and he kept drinking it, but I'm not thinking it's liquor because I'm thinking we didn't even have liquor in the house, So then,
So y'all in his car, and he possibly had a stash.
no,
in his
we was in my car,
Oh, you're
but
in your car.
because
Okay.
he had been drinking, so I'm
Okay.
like, I'll drive my car. So then his son came with all the stuff in the car, and then so we leave, and then he goes, I need to pee. Stop. I'm gonna stop at the store, and I'm like, why are we stopping at the store? I said, if you need to pee, I said, you a guy, and I said it just like that, like, you a guy. You could just whip it out. So let's stop at anywhere instead of going all the way to the store. Because now we done pass up the freeway entrance, we going to a store. And he was like, I need to go to the store. Fine. Because we go back and forth, back and forth. Pull up in the parking lot of the store. This Negro gets out the car and goes to the liquor store and not to the bathroom.
Ooh.
And I'm like, fuck. So I was like, you wanted to go to the liquor store the whole time? Here we come with a pint of Hennessy.
Mm.
He cracked the bottle open, and I'm thinking to myself, like,
I'm in for a night.
this is not going to be good. He's going to the head drinking the Hennessy. Like, he's drinking a pint, but he's, like, guzzling it. And I'm like...
So up until this time, though, you mentioned, like, wine and stuff, but he's never been, like, consistently drinking all this time? Because you're a year in at this point, right?
In front of me, there was no consistent hard alcohol.
Okay.
It was the wine. It was
just
wine,
but
now I'm down the line. I figured he must have been drinking hard behind my back, and I just didn't know.
Okay.
So, mind you, I still don't think I didn't know how deep he was into this. So then we're driving down the freeway, and the whole time we're thinking, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, let's just get there. As soon as we get there, I'm going home. Like, this is going to be home for me because this is not going right. So I could just, I could just see someone changing. So then we pull up, and, like, his driveway there, his balcony was on the second floor, the patio balcony. Like, he has, like, a whole deck. So I pulled up in the driveway, and then I'm like, I got ready to open the car door, and he said, wait. And he told his son, he was like, here, son, take the key. Go ahead and go in. We'll be in a minute. And I'm like...
Did you get nervous at that?
Yeah, I got kind of nervous because I'm like, why are we going in? Because I just wanted to get my bag because I had a bag in the house and I had stuff in it I need to get. So I'm like, I just want to grab my bag. I'm going to let you and your son have, y'all time. And he was like, so his son goes in the house and he looks at me and he goes, don't you ever fucking embarrass me in front of my son again. And I was like, okay, but I didn't do anything. He said, you gonna contradict everything I fucking told you to do in front of my motherfucking son. And I'm like, I didn't contradict. I just told you I didn't want to drive in the dark. And then I didn't understand if you wanted to pee while we had to stop at the store, but you need to go to the store. You could have just said that.
So did you think at this point that possibly he's an alcoholic?
Yeah, at that point, because I'm thinking, like, ain't nobody finishing a whole pint of Hennessy from Fremont to Oakland like that. And guzzling it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, the pint is gone.
And he didn't even offer you none.
No, he didn't offer me none. And he didn't even, he didn't seem like I would be on my back. He was not on his back inside.
He is functional.
And so then I was like, okay, I said, you know what? My bad. I'm going to just grab my stuff and I'm going to leave. So then he said, okay, so we walk in up the stairs and we get into the door and I'm just like, I just got to grab my stuff. I walk in the door, he walked in the door and he slammed the door and he was like, you're not leaving. Mm. And I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm going to grab my stuff, right? So I'm like, trying to grab my stuff. We are tussling over my bag. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you can just keep the bag. Like, just let me out the house. So then I try to go out the back door. He goes out the back door. So, of course, I'm not going to go out the back door now. He takes my bag and he empties my bags over the balcony, on the balcony, okay, on the ground in the dark. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. So then he runs back. I can't go out the front door. So I'm going back to the back again to the kitchen door because I'm thinking, just let me out the kitchen. If I can get out the door, then it's like stairs. I can just leave. He takes me and you know the little corner in between the refrigerator and the wall, like that little space? He has me, and he's like I feel like I was on this is not funny, but I felt like I was on like a Michael Myers, like Freddy Jason or somebody was trying to kill me. He was trying to stuff my ass in between that little space.
Because I have a visual.
Okay, so he's doing that, like, and he's doing like 4 times, and I'm like going backwards, like he gonna kill me because I can't go in between the space. Either I'm gonna hit my head really bad on one of these edges, and he's gonna kill me, and I'm just in my head, I'm like, he gonna kill me and everybody. He gonna get rid of my body because in my head, because I'm dramatic.
Now, is he yelling? Is he screaming anything? He's like, "B, what?" Like, or is it like it's not silent, right? Obviously,
it's not silent, but he was like, "You gonna learn to respect me?" Because now I'm disrespecting him. He said, Mind you, his son is in the room.
I was gonna ask where the son was.
His son did not come out. Okay,
Of
he
course,
did not
he
come
probably
out.
knows.
I'm like, oh my god. So I'm like, he's like doing this. So finally, like we're tussling. So when I get away enough, and I just run down the stairs. Right.
So you get out the door.
Yeah, I get out the door. I run down the stairs. I'm nervous. I'm stuff. I get in my car. Luckily, I had like my keys still. I was able to have like my keys in my phone somewhere. I don't know if I hid it. I don't know what I did because I ended up having my keys to my car,
Okay.
and I had my phone.
Okay.
So I'm like calling his sister, like, hey, as I'm getting in the car, like, hey, can you help me? I was like, he's attacking me. And I said, I'm going to have to call the police, and I'm trying to back up, get ready to back up. And only thing I hear was glass break. So when I look up, I'm screaming because now he had these trees on his balcony, his patio.
Mm-hmm.
They had the maintenance people that came and cut the branches, the branches from the trees. So he had garbage bags full of branches from the trees, tree limbs. He threw the bags on my car. So when it hit, it shattered my entire windshield.
Oh my!
I couldn't see. I pulled my car out. And then he runs down the stairs and he's chasing me around the car.
Now
and
that is scary.
He was like, "I'm gonna kick your ass, bitch!" And I'm like running around the car, like screaming, because now I can't even call 911 because we're running around my car. I had the Intrepid at the time.
So stop. So he throws the bag. You're in the car trying to back up. He throws the bag. It hits the car, shatters the windshield. So you get out the car.
Yeah, I still back up into the street.
You still back up into the street, and then you get out the car.
Yeah, and then we're on this hill, so now I'm running around.
So he's chasing you around the car.
And thank God for the neighbor.
Wow.
The neighbor called 911. And he was like, "I'm going to beat your ass. I am not going to jail. I'm going to beat your ass." And then we were running around the car, literally, in the dark. And the neighbor's like, "I called 911. Police came very fast. They like swooped in everywhere. And he was like, they got him. And I'm like hysterical, like, because now I see how the damage to my car, my roof is dented in. Because he took a green garbage
just the
bag.
experience,
Yeah.
period, is
and then
traumatic.
I'm like, I can't even leave because now I have a whole windshield. I can't drive the car. I'm looking, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm screaming. And the police officer, they were really nice. And he was like, okay, we're taking him to jail. He was like, did you even know he was on parole? I didn't even know the guy was on parole.
Oh.
So that was another thing. I didn't know.
Did they tell you what he was on parole for?
No, they didn't even tell me that. They told me they was going to get him on the violation for parole.
Okay.
They was like, so I called his dad because his son's still in the house.
So that was going to be my next question. Just to summarize, you meet a guy in passing, y'all hit it off. Signs start a little bit here and there. Most of it's just verbal and it's little short connotations. Shut the fuck up, all this other stuff. You get into it. You have your first incident where he punches you smack out the blue, whatever. You guys get past that. Fast forward. You come back because you feel like he's apologizing. He's being this guy. Maybe he didn't do it. You have taken ownership that it's your fault that these things have happened to you, right? Justifying it. Then you get to the point where now you're going through this totally traumatic experience. But in the interim of all this, you've met his family because you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
So that's always one of the things that I think about when there's mothers of abusive sons or fathers or parents who know that your child is abusive. Like, is there never any type of conversation? So what was it like meeting his family? Like, did he have a good relationship with his mother?
Yeah, he had a good relationship with his dad.
Good relationship with his dad?
What his dad told me that night, I learned a lot because his dad, when he came to get his grandson,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me, he apologized. He said, "I am so sorry that this happened." He said, "I'm shocked that it didn't happen sooner." He was like, I was like, so you guys,
See,
knew?
that's the part that I am.
So what he told me was that he thought that I was aware of him being an alcoholic. He thought I was aware of his behavior towards women. I said, no, I've never been aware of that. I didn't know you guys had never
Nobody
even...
told you. So I guess that begs the question is do parents or family have a responsibility if you're, if you know that your son or whoever has this type of behaviors, your brother, your brother beat women or things like that. Like, is there some type of responsibility, like from the family standpoint, to be like, hey, I'm just meeting you, obviously, you're my brother, whoop, whoop. Like, is it a family secret? Like, how does that?
I don't know. That just,
Because then it's too late. What if he
yeah, it
was in
was
the
too late.
hospital? What
And
if
he
he would have
told me, he
killed
was
you?
like, so then he told me, he was like, you know what? He's gonna be in jail. You can. I was like, I can't drive. I can't go home with my car. And he was like, well, you figure out. You stay here. You got the key. Just stay the night and figure it out tomorrow. So, I mean, of course, your whole. I was so
Shook.
hurt. I stayed up all night and I'm worried. And then he was like, so I had to call, like, trying to get my car fixed. I had to find a windshield place that would come and replace my windshield. I still had the dent, so I had to, basically had to go home and lie about stuff because I'm like,
That's what I was going to be my next question. Had you, up until this point or up until then, had you ever told anybody about the situation? And before we even go back to the story, did this in any kind of way turn into like a fatal attraction type of situation?
no. So what happened was, thank God, the next day, the arresting officer on site the night before, he called me.
Aww. You are so strong, Kat. So brave.
And he said, you know what? I can't. And this is how I know, like, from my own, that all police officers aren't bad.
Yeah.
Because this officer didn't have to call me. He called me and he said, I'm going to tell you something, but I'm not even supposed to tell you this. He said, but I need you to never go back to this person. He was like, I'm looking at his record and he's done this before and he's not going to stop. And he was like, if you continue with this, he was like, he's going to kill you. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you need to leave this alone. Like, so when he told me that, I was like, oh no. Like, so, because he didn't have to do it. He didn't have to call. He made a point to call me to tell me, like, you need to get away from this person. Like, this is not good. He's like, I'm looking at his record. He said nothing has helped. He's been to counseling. He's been to the classes. Nothing has stopped him. He said it's just going to progress. And then he was right because it progressed so fast. Like, and so then I left and then he was in Rita and he kept calling me. So I was like, oh no, his family got mad at me because I cut everybody off because I'm like.
No. Don't even run over that part. You said the family got mad at you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because why?
Because I cut them off. Because I said I
Because you cut them off.
Yeah, because.
Not because you cut him off.
No, because they wanted to still be friends and I'm like, I don't, that's your family member and I can't.
And how about you niggas didn't tell me your brother and your son got a record and likes to beat on women?
Yeah. And so after that, I tried to hide it and then I was at my granny's and the DA had called and they were like, you're going to have to be a witness. We were like, okay, we're going through all
now,
this.
Now, had you introduced him to the family at this point?
No.
Everybody. So
they knew him, but they didn't know. I was really, my family, it's hard for me to introduce people to my family sometimes. Just kind of, I'm just like, if you not, I don't know. It's just, it was something I was always, he never met my daughter or my family.
Okay.
Because maybe it just was something that just wasn't always sitting right.
Okay.
And then after that, the DA was like, you're going to have to testify. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And his public defender came to my house. Mm-hmm. And the DA never told me that the public defender would come to your house to try to talk to you for their client.
To talk to you about not.
Yeah, and I didn't know that they would do that. And they knocked on the door. And my granny was like, well, who is that? And I'm like, and then the damn public defender introduced themselves. And I'm like, and she was like, what happened? And I told her, and back then my granny was like, oh no, we gonna whip his ass. Right. And I'm like, no, told my granny, like, no, it's okay, So So then that's when I
I
have
don't know
to
who
tell.
you are, but don't let me ever find out and catch you on the streets. I don't care who you with. It's on sight. It's on sight.
So now,
Look at me. We talking about
I
domestic
know.
violence, and I am
It's just
promoting violence. I take that back.
But then when his public defender said I wasn't gonna like go and protect him and say I wasn't gonna testify, he ended up settling. So he ended up doing some time.
So he just pleaded guilty.
Yeah, he pled guilty, and I called. I had a real breakdown, and I called, which is a good thing. I finally was able to admit to myself that I was an abused woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, wow, you go through life going through so much stuff, and then you're like, this strong person, and you let this person come in and like break you, like really break you to a point where I called the domestic violence hotline, and I cried to the people, and I'm like, I'm abused. Like, I've been abused.
How old were you at this point?
I was 2000. What's that? I was like 30, 34, 35.
34, 30. Okay.
Yeah, like I was.
Like almost, you would think old enough to know better, right?
Yeah, but I mean, do you really know better? Do you really know? Like, we are so needy sometimes, or you just want acceptance from people, or you want to believe that, especially like when you're broken, like when your heart's been broken and you're trying to pick up the pieces and you're like, oh, this ain't working out, this relationship didn't work out, so this one seems to be going cool, but we always are trying to, I think, my natural nature is to fix people,
Mm-hmm.
or to I want to be seeing all the good in someone.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, sometimes it's like, I don't know if it's a project or you get to the point where you're like, you got good in you, I can fix you, I can, you apologize, everyone makes mistakes, or I forgave this person for this mistake, why can't I forgive you? Mm-hmm. I don't know what, I don't know what it was, but I know now it was more of a broken thing, and it was more of just a wanting to be loved, and then wanting that love to be real, and then you're like, but that incident, like, that was it for me. Like, as far as like the thing in my head, what was going on when he was trying to stuff me. I think of it. That is like that's funny. Because it's not funny, but it's funny. Because when you think about,
when you look back on it, right?
When you're looking at it, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Every time I go past the refrigerator and see that little space, I'll be like, this nigga was trying to put me in between. I mean, you don't know, and you know what? What's good is that I can laugh at it.
So when
Kat
get her new house, her refrigerator is gonna fill up the whole space.
Yes, I don't want no space in between. I mean, and y'all try that. Go look at that little. I mean, it's about this wide.
I know exactly, because we used to put the broom.
You put the broom
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Girl, I'm not a fan of those spaces no more. You're right. I'm gonna have a big old
PTSD. That's a shame. The little things.
I mean, but it's good when I can sit here and I'm glad I can sit here and share the story finally. I'm glad I can sit here and laugh about it.
That's what it's for.
I mean, but when you in your head, when you thinking like, this thing about to kill me, because I'm gonna hit my head on that little corner. That little corner.
Yep.
It's only
square.
It's that little corner of the wall.
You got two. You got the one right here from the
And he was trying. And just think somebody checking you, just going like, I felt
especially
like
in a rage. They drunk. Sometimes you're a man. He's 6'4", you 5'1". Let me bring that back into the play. You got 6'4" and 5'1". He's grabbing you, trying to shove you into this little bitty space. Who's intoxicated? He's drunk. He's in a rage. Like, that could have went any kind of way. And we always, are in these moments sometimes, and we just never realize what's going on. Like, it's so surreal, because part of you is in the moment and you don't believe you're in the moment, and you're not even taking account to what's around you and what's literally happening to you, because you still like, is this nigga really shaking me? By the time he done already pushed you in the corner or whatever, but your brain is trying to catch up with what's going on, because and
then you tussling, like we tussling like back, and like, and myself, I'm thinking like, when it was all over and they're replaying it, I was like, damn, his son just did not.
He was scared. He's 16.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he probably
And
have
he
seen that
apologized
with
too.
his,
When he got ready to
his
leave,
dad and his mom.
He put his earphones on so he could just ignore all the sound. I guess he probably knew when he got out the car, like, your ass is about to get it.
He probably knew.
Because that's how I felt. Like, then some people were like, afterwards, like, why'd you even go get your bag? Well, in the midst of it, you don't even think, like, I didn't think all that was going to transpire. Like, I didn't know I was going to be running for my life.
And I'm glad you said that, because why did you go get your bag? So from the outside looking in, that's how the thoughts, the questions, when you're not in the situation, it's totally, totally different from on the outside looking in, because it's a bunch of
because
questions.
you're thinking like, that's my stuff. I want my stuff.
But you already knew he'd been drinking. You already knew. You could already feel like things. But
remember, except for, and I'm not trying to be funny, like, except for the punch. I'm thinking we've been going good all these months, so I know that I need to get away from you. But who knew? Like, once we went, it was like that movie where once you knew, like, you went behind. Once the door closed, I was like, oh shit. I felt like, and I've always been afraid, like, of getting, like, I was thinking to myself, he was trying to stuff me in my head. I'm thinking he gonna beat me like women get beat, like, and then like I thought he was just gonna punch me and like hit me, and I'm like, oh God, if he really trying to stuff me in between, like, this ain't gonna work. I don't know what he would have did, because he was Teslaing with me. I ran away, like, I was able to break away. And he stumbled, and I was able to run down them stairs. But running around that car, girl, running around them circles, I don't know how many times I ran around in circles, but that keep away game in your 30s is not cool. Like, listen, that car, luckily the car was bigger.
Literally running for your life.
Yeah.
Around the car in a circle.
And what if the neighbor wouldn't have been there? Thank God the neighbor was like, let me call my mom. Because some people would have been like,
just replay the whole story back. It's almost like from a movie scene. And we were actually gonna do another topic that we were gonna discuss, but I actually want to make this a part 1, right? I want to make this a part 1. For time restraints, we don't want to hold you guys too long. We definitely want to make sure we keep you tuned in. So we're gonna do a part 1, and then we're just gonna come back with a part 2. We're gonna finish Kat's story, so because I still have a bunch of questions for her. So I want you guys to make sure y'all come back and tune in for part 2. We're gonna do a part 2, and we're gonna finish the story. I'm gonna finish asking my questions, and we're gonna just continue this conversation about domestic violence. You okay with that? I'm gonna let Kat get her little. She always come over here so cute, and we're gonna let her get her a chance to get her life together so she can get back cute again in case we need to. She needs some more tissue, so we're just going to take a pause. We're going to come back to part 2. She said, we said, this is the platform, this is what we do. As much as we try to be authentic, and our most authentic selves is not easy. It's difficult, as you can see, but it's 100% true. And we will be back with more.
We'll be back.
She said, we said, thank you.
So just so you know, 1 in 4 women are physically abused by their partner in a lifetime, and 1 in 9 men are physically abused.
You came with statistics today. I wasn't ready.
I wasn't ready for that. Got statistics.
Did you say 1 in 4?
1 in 4 women.
Okay.
And 1 in 9 men. So men can be abused too. So this isn't a girly episode. This is a episode just to educate.
Where did the 1 in 9 men stats come from? Where did you read that at?
I came from the domestic violence, the CDC.
Okay.
Men are abused. They just don't admit it.
Listen, we saw the trial with Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah, he was abused.
Yeah,
he was abused.
I'm not saying it don't happen. I just,
Yeah, women are just probably more abused than men.
We'll probably talk about the types of abuse. I'm sure that probably plays
into
the statistics.
Okay, so just the statistics, just so we were correct. The statistics for the 1 in 9 is for physical abuse.
Oh.
It's 1 in 4 women will be physically abused by a partner in their lifetime, and 1 in 9 men will be abused in their lifetime by a partner physically. So that's not verbal. That's only the physical. So You know, everybody might get Ike and Tina. That's basically what they're trying
Well,
to
I
say.
guess it's just my thought is, I mean, a woman hitting a man, of course, it happens, right? She slapping him. She may punch him or, do
But that's
something
still
to him.
abuse.
No, I know it's abuse, but I know, like, my punch to a man is not going to be the same kind of force and punch if he hit me. I mean, like, statistically, there's women who end up in the hospitals and deaths. Did it have the statistics about like women who die from domestic abuse versus men who die from domestic abuse?
No, it didn't. I mean, I didn't look that deep into the statistics, but men die too. I mean, didn't you grow up watching The Burning Bed? I mean, he beat her, and she to me, that's still abuse. I mean,
It's abuse for who? For him?
Okay, so
Did she get off? Didn't she? Did she get off?
I believe so.
So,
but
self-defense.
I think sometimes what happens is we get caught up in. Remember when you were little, you were told what if you're old enough to take it to take a hit back, you can. So it didn't say like don't hit the boys. I mean, I know when I was little, boys used to like hit me, and I'd be like, "Well, he touched me," and they'd be like, "Girl, that's a love taps." You know, that's what you get told. It's a love tap. So, I want to share my story. I went through domestic abuse before.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it was a meme that came out not too long ago that said, let's teach our daughters, because of that very thing, it's just a love tap. Let's teach them that hitting is not okay because we're telling them that at a young age that if a boy hits you, it's just a love tap, right? But who knows how they're going to internalize that later on if they get older and think, well, a man hits me, it's that love tap type
the
of
boys
thing.
used to feel on your, you go around playing, the boys hit you on your booty, feel your titties, and
assault you.
But I mean that's probably assault.
I mean we don't pay attention to
but
it
it
now,
was like
we were assaulted as kids, right? No,
you don't. Now it's different things. So I think that all that still existed. It's just that like now there's words for it. Like now it's a toxic relationship. Okay, well what was it when we were growing up, or what was it? We wasn't using the word when I got into my situation. It wasn't the word toxic going around or narcissist. Like
right.
Those, we just give names to certain things, but they still exist. Like they've been there. So
table talk.
Yeah.
We all been through it, or they all been through it, went through it. Yeah, no name.
And I grew up around strong women. I was brought up by strong Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen women in my family, fight men or not be afraid to stand up for themselves with a man because that they were strong women.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were taught to protect themselves. So in arguments, I've seen it. So I would say I wasn't that woman. I've always been a more passive woman compared to some of the women in my family.
Okay.
Like I have a lot of strong women, and they'll used to cuss me out, and I'm like, wow, like that's kind of harsh there.
So let's before we even get into Kat's story, we're both going to talk about it. It is an important topic. We are definitely going to be revisiting it. Just in case you tap in real quick with us and tap out, I just want to make sure that it's domestic violence. Very important situation. A lot of us have experienced it. We're going to talk about Kat first, and then just know that hopefully we'll have some guests on here the next time, just to kind of share our stories and of recovery and positivity that you can move on from